The morning sun filtered through the tall windows of Hamilton Industries, casting long golden rays across the marble floor of the executive wing. James Hamilton sat behind his mahogany desk, adjusting his navy tie for the third time. At 35, he had built his company from nothing into a multi-million-dollar empire. Success had come at a price, though. His calendar was packed from dawn to dusk, leaving little room for anything beyond profit margins and board meetings. Today was particularly important. He was interviewing candidates for the position of executive assistant, a role that required someone exceptional. Someone who could keep up with his demanding schedule and help manage the countless responsibilities that came with running such a large corporation. The previous assistant had left suddenly, citing the intense pressure and long hours as reasons for her departure. James glanced at his watch. The first interview was scheduled for 9 o'clock sharp. He prided himself on punctuality and expected the same from others. His office, located on the 20th floor, overlooked the bustling city below. Floor-to-ceiling windows provided a commanding view of the metropolitan landscape, but James rarely took time to appreciate it anymore. The intercom buzzed softly on his desk. "Mr. Hamilton, your 9 o'clock appointment is here," announced his temporary assistant, Mrs. Chen. "Send them in," James replied, straightening his shoulders and adopting the professional demeanor that had served him well in countless business dealings. He expected to see a polished professional walk through his door. Instead, the heavy wooden door opened slowly, and in walked someone completely unexpected. A little girl, no more than 6 years old, stood in the doorway. She had blonde hair tied up in 2 small ponytails with pink ribbons, and she wore a simple brown dress with white socks and black shoes. In her small hands, she clutched a worn teddy bear. James blinked, certain he was seeing things. He looked past the child, expecting to see an adult behind her, but the hallway was empty. The little girl stepped forward with careful, measured steps, her eyes wide as she took in the impressive office around her. "Excuse me," James began, his voice gentle but confused. "Are you lost? Where are your parents?" The little girl looked up at him with serious blue eyes. "Mom's sick, so I came instead," she said in a clear, small voice that seemed to echo in the spacious office. James felt his professional composure falter for the first time in years. He stood up slowly from his desk, towering over the tiny visitor. "I'm sorry, sweetheart. I think there might be some confusion. This is a business office, and I was expecting someone for a job interview." "I know," the little girl replied matter-of-factly. "Mommy was supposed to come for the job interview, but she's been coughing all night and has a fever. She needs this job really bad, so I came to tell you she's sorry and to ask if you could wait for her to get better." The sincerity in her voice struck James like a physical blow. He had been so focused on his rigid schedule and business expectations that he had forgotten what real problems looked like. Here was a child who had somehow made her way to his office, 20 floors up in a downtown skyscraper, because she was worried about her sick mother and their family's financial situation. "What's your name?" James asked, crouching down to be at eye level with her. "Emma," she replied, hugging her teddy bear closer. "And this is Mr. Buttons. He's not scared of tall buildings, so he came with me to make sure I was brave." "That's very thoughtful of Mr. Buttons," James said with a small smile. "Emma, how did you get here? Did someone bring you?" "I took the bus," Emma explained. "Mommy always takes the number 42 bus to go places downtown. I watched her lots of times. And I asked the lady at the front desk downstairs which elevator to take. She was really nice and helped me press the right button." James felt a mixture of concern and amazement. This little girl had navigated the city's public transportation system and found her way to his office, all out of love for her mother. It was both impressive and deeply troubling that a 6-year-old had been put in such a position. "Emma, I need you to help me understand something," James said carefully. "What's your mommy's name, and why does she need this job so much?" "Her name is Sarah. Sarah Mitchell," Emma replied. "We don't have much money since Daddy went away. Mommy works 2 jobs, but she said this job would pay more and she could spend more time with me. She's been practicing what to say in the mirror every morning." The weight of the situation settled heavily on James's shoulders. He thought about his own childhood, growing up in a loving home where his biggest worry was which video game to play after school. This little girl was dealing with adult problems that no child should have to face. "Would you like to sit down, Emma?" James offered, gesturing to one of the leather chairs across from his desk. And maybe Mr. Buttons would like to see the view from the window. Emma nodded and climbed into the oversized chair, her legs dangling well above the floor. She held Mr. Buttons up to show him the cityscape beyond the glass. Look, Mr. Buttons. You can see everything from up here. James watched her with growing admiration. Despite the difficult circumstances that had brought her to his office, Emma maintained the wonder and resilience that seemed to be natural to children. She wasn't asking for sympathy or making demands. She had simply come to advocate for her mother in the most honest, straightforward way possible. Emma, can you tell me more about your mommy? What kind of work does she do now? She cleans offices at night and works at a diner during the day, Emma explained. She's really good at organizing things and helping people. She helps me with my homework even when she's tired, and she always makes sure I eat breakfast before school. As Emma spoke about her mother, James found himself seeing his business and his life from an entirely different perspective. He had become so focused on credentials, experience, and professional polish that he had forgotten about the human element. Here was a woman who was clearly dedicated, hardworking, and responsible, raising a daughter who was brave enough to speak up for her family. You know what, Emma? James said, making a decision that surprised even himself. I think your mommy sounds like exactly the kind of person I need to work with. But first, we need to get you home safely. Do you have your mommy's phone number? Emma nodded and carefully recited a series of numbers. James wrote them down and reached for his phone. When a weak voice answered, he could hear the illness in Sarah Mitchell's words immediately. Mrs. Mitchell, this is James Hamilton from Hamilton Industries. Please don't worry, but your daughter Emma is here in my office. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end of the line. Oh my God, Emma. I fell asleep, and when I woke up, she was gone. I've been looking everywhere. I'm so sorry, Mr. Hamilton. I know I missed the interview. I understand if you don't want to consider me for the position. Mrs. Mitchell, I want you to listen to me carefully, James said, his voice warm but firm. First, Emma is safe. She's been incredibly brave and articulate. Second, I want to offer you the job. Anyone who has raised such a remarkable daughter clearly has the skills and character I'm looking for in an assistant. The silence on the phone stretched for several moments before Sarah spoke again, her voice thick with emotion. Are you serious? Even though I didn't make it to the interview? Even though my 6-year-old daughter showed up at your office instead? Especially because of that, James replied. Emma has shown me more about your qualities as a person in 30 minutes than any traditional interview could have revealed. She's demonstrated your values, your work ethic, and your dedication. Those are the things that matter most. Emma had been listening to the conversation with wide eyes. When she realized what was happening, her face broke into the biggest smile James had seen in years. Did Mommy get the job? She whispered. James nodded, and Emma hugged Mr. Buttons tightly. We did it, Mr. Buttons. Mommy's going to be so happy. Now, let's get you home to your mother, James said, standing up and reaching for his coat. I'm going to drive you myself. We can't have you taking the bus alone again. As they prepared to leave, Emma looked up at James with a serious expression. Mr. Hamilton, will you be nice to my mommy when she works here? She works really hard, but sometimes people aren't very nice to her. The question cut straight to James's heart. I promise, Emma. I'll make sure your mommy is treated with respect and kindness. And I have a feeling she's going to help make this company a better place for everyone. During the drive to their modest apartment across town, Emma chattered about school, her friends, and her hopes that her mommy would finally be able to take her to the park more often. James found himself genuinely interested in her stories, realizing how long it had been since he had engaged in such honest, uncomplicated conversation. When they arrived at the apartment building, Sarah Mitchell was waiting outside, despite her obvious illness. She was a woman in her early 30s with the same blonde hair as her daughter, but her face showed the stress and exhaustion of someone carrying heavy burdens. When she saw Emma get out of the expensive car, tears filled her eyes. Mommy. Emma ran to her mother's arms. I told Mr. Hamilton all about you, and he gave you the job. Sarah looked over her daughter's head at James with a mixture of gratitude and embarrassment. Mr. Hamilton, I don't know how to thank you. And I'm so sorry about Emma. She shouldn't have gone there alone. Mrs. Mitchell, Emma did something remarkable today. She showed me what real courage and loyalty look like. I should be thanking both of you. Over the following months, Sarah Mitchell proved to be everything James had hoped for in an assistant and more. She brought organization, efficiency, and a human touch to the office that had been missing for years. More importantly, she reminded James why he had started his business in the first place, to create something meaningful that could make a positive difference in people's lives. Emma became a regular visitor to the office, often stopping by after school. James found himself looking forward to her visits, enjoying her fresh perspective on the world and her ability to find joy in simple things. She had unknowingly taught him that success without compassion was empty, and that sometimes the most important business decisions were the ones made with the heart rather than just the head. The little girl who had walked into his office that morning, clutching her teddy bear and speaking up for her sick mother, had changed everything. She had reminded a busy executive that behind every resume was a human story, and that sometimes the best qualifications couldn't be measured in degrees or years of experience, but in the love, dedication, and courage that people brought to every aspect of their lives.